Alright, I'm getting ready to start working on the air cleaners for the tractor. Or, well, I guess air cleaner. But as you can see, I have two of them sitting here. The white one is the one that was on the 4000. The one with the primer showing was the one that I took off of my 861 years ago when I restored it. And both of them have issues, so I'm going to have to combine both of them to get one good one. I'm primarily going to use the one off the 861, and I can show you the damage on the 4000s because it's pretty bad. There's a few little dings and dents in the 861 one that I should be able to body work out and not be a problem. But one other reason I want to use the one off 861, you can see right there where there was a pre-cleaner, and I do have a new bowl and top and everything for it, whereas the one on the 4000 has just an air inlet. Now that is correct for the tractor, but I want to use the pre-cleaner since I'm going to be in the gardens and dust and everything. It'll just kind of help keep the oil from getting dirty so much quicker. That long tube will come off, and I could put it onto the other one. However, I kind of like the shorter one, so for now I'm going to run just the short one, but I may change it in the future. So now I'm going to go ahead and start working on disassembling the air cleaner off of the 861 and get it ready to be sandblasted, repaired, and painted. Alright, and I know it's kind of a little off screen here, but just to prove the top does come off, so I gotta make a new stud. I don't know where the stud went, but that should be a piece of cake. I don't remember if this one has any oil in it or not, but this is going to be true whether you're servicing these things or, in my case, completely rebuilding it. This band is damaged on this one, which is one piece I got to change. Which pretty much just take the band and unscrew it. I believe this is even damaged too. As you can see, this is pretty tweaked here. Then your oil can will slide off. There's actually the stud out of the top, so oh, there it is. Now down here we have the screen. And this cup or can, or however you want to refer to it as, there's an insert here. That comes up and out, and you can see how much dirt's in here from last time it was cleaned. And there's a little bit of oil in there. And I got a nice ding right there, which I think the one on the 4000 is not damaged, so I'm going to be using it instead. this air cleaner, there's some damage here. There's a dent right there, and I think I found one more earlier. Okay, I'm going to try to get a good shot of this, but here's these two air cleaners. Now, this one here, you can see some of the crud in the mesh. But look down in it, the air inlet tube. Not a lot of dirt in there. We'll come over here. Now, as you can see, whoever painted the tractor left the cup off and got some paint in here. So there's all kinds of crud. But this cleaner didn't have the glass or the bowl pre-filter. Look at all the crud in there. That's why I want to run the dust bowl on mine, to try to eliminate as much of that as possible. Because the more of that you have in your oil, in your cleaner, the more frequent you're going to have to service it. Now, unfortunately, these filters are not designed to come apart like the old series on the 8Ns, probably the gas model as well. And the reason being, this plate here is spot welded in 3 places to your center air tube, and then it's staked all the way around. I really want to get this out of here, and it's for a couple of reasons. Number one, to sandblast it. I want that out so I don't have it full of sand, because you cannot get the stuff clean after you sandblast it. You just don't. Second is, I want to try to get that as clean as I can. So, which unfortunately means I'm probably going to have to be a little destructive on this. And I'll show you the method that I use. But just be aware, these were not designed to be serviced. Alright, so I'm kind of working on the 4000 air cleaner here just to try to figure out my game plan for the other one so I don't tear it up. Now, what I did, where this cap here was spot welded, I took a cutoff wheel and just cut those spot welds off. And it's not going to affect anything, because once we put everything back on, this kind of holds it into place anyway. So it's not going to hurt the operation. And one other quick little thing, since I didn't show it earlier, this was actually that piece I just set up here off the 4000. It's screwed up, to put it lightly. Now once I cut these spot welds, I come over here to where it was staked here, and I was able to get a screwdriver down in here and pry one up, and then, which I used just like a little pocket screwdriver. Well, then I kind of rolled around to the next one over here and did the same thing. Once those two are out, I was able to take that pocket screwdriver and come in here and just pry this thing up and out. And I didn't have to mess with any of the other stakings. And then that just popped off. So now, these wire meshes should slide up and out. I don't know if there's 2 in here or just one big one. That's why I say, I'm trying it on the 4000 air cleaner, because if I mess it up, it's not the end of the world. And this is probably the nastiest air cleaner I have seen on any of my tractors. I honestly don't even know how that tractor even ran. Because this is literally plugged solid. I'm gonna grab another screwdriver. Now it's kind of wanting to catch there where I cut those welds. So I'm going to have to be sure to kind of clean those up on the other one whenever I go back with it, or work on it. Because see, this is what these meshes should look like, not caked in crud. Which, I mean, this means the filter was doing its job. But that's hard for a tractor to run. Pulling air through all that. So yeah, it caught on all of these. Oops. It caught on those welds, so yeah, I have to get rid of that on the other one. But yeah, that filter there is pretty nasty. I mean, it was doing its job, but holy cow. That's why these things need to be serviceable. I don't understand why these are not serviceable. So, there is another mesh down in here. And I'm going to see if I can go ahead and just kind of clean this up on the weld so that will slide out easier. Probably what I will do on the one for the 861 that's replacing this guy, once I cut those off and take that other piece off, I'm going to see if maybe I can move the mesh around and just kind of like grind those tabs off to nothing. Because I'm not going to re-weld it, because that's just dumb, because then I can't service it in the future. So I'll just eliminate those tabs on the other one. And to try not to destroy the one in here in case the one down there gets damaged, I'm going to go ahead and go grind those off, and then I'll come back and pull out the other mesh piece. And I'm not worried about getting metal flakes down in here, because I'm going to unravel those meshes and clean them up so they're like brand new. Okay, you can kind of see there now where I've ground that off. I'm going to see if I can grab these with some needle nose pliers. Just so it's a little less destructive. And there's the other mesh out. And as you can see, this is obviously the second mesh, you know, because air will come in here, gets pulled up through the side. That's why this one's a whole lot cleaner. But that's what these meshes should look like when you go back with them. Obviously not with the little bit of dirt right there it pulled out. And there is a screen on top of it, and that camera does not want to pick it up too well, but trust me, it's there. So that should be everything that's in here. And it looks so. Yep. So now, obviously not with this can, you might be able to see some of the damage in there if the light catches it just right, where it's all beat up here, because I'm pretty sure somebody sideswiped this tractor on something. And I'll kind of, if you watch my video on the hood, I'll show you some of the damage on it that I have found so far. And I say so far because at the time of this video I have not sandblasted the hood. I've just done a little bit of body work to it. But this was damaged, and the pipe that went here was damaged. Luckily the one off the 861 was still good, so I got in a good pipe. But as far as your servicing is concerned, now at this point you would clean everything with either gas, kerosene, brake cleaner, whatever. Reinstall everything, put your oil back in it, and put it back together. Now I will show that when I get to that point, but I'm just not to that point at this second. So now I'm going to grab the 861 air cleaner and do basically the same thing that I did to this one, and determine which ones of these meshes I'm going to use. It's probably going to be both of the upper ones, just because they're cleaner. And we'll get it all sandblasted, body worked, what little bits I need to body work on that one, and then I'll show you reassembly. Alright, so got the mesh out of this one. The upper mesh was a little dirtier than the one out of the 4000, so I'll probably use the one out of 4000. The lower mesh was a whole lot better, and I'm calling this an upper and lower because if you look at them, the lower mesh is a coarser mesh, so they are different. And to get this one out, I basically ground it and cut it just like I did the 4000. This one was cracked all through here, and kind of the easiest way to fix it was just to silver solder it. So that's what I did. I had to use an oxyacetylene torch to get it hot enough, but that crack's fixed. I come in and banged out a couple dents. This is now ready to be cleaned, or blasted rather. No, I'm not cleaning that. Alright, so I took one of the cans and cleaned it out. I'm going to take these meshes and just stick them down in there, and I'm going to spray them off with the brake cleaner and get them good and clean. You can also do it with gas if you want to do gas. Looks like you probably use some diesel or kerosene. I'm going to try to not unroll them, especially this upper one, because this is like some very dense mesh. If you want to unroll them, there are some staples probably on this one right here that you can undo and unroll the mesh. I know on like the 8N style air cleaner it has like a pin in it, almost like a T-pin. You can pull it and just unroll it. Of course, the downside to unrolling it is you got to roll it back up. So be sure you have something that is the right side diameter to roll it around, so you get your size back correct. Guess I should have grabbed a little fuller can. You might be able to see it on camera, but it is cleaning out some of the dirt already. But I'm basically just going to spray that. Like I said, I'll get me a fresher can. Slosh it around a little while, flip it around, keep doing it, and just try to get it as clean as I can. Which, like I say, this one was out of the 4000. It's pretty well clean. I'll use the lower out of the 861 because it's cleaner than this monstrosity. And once I get them all cleaned up, they'll be set aside, and I'll get everything else cleaned up until it's ready to be reassembled. Alright, so let me show you the oil with a brake cleaner first. That is the brake cleaner after cleaning both meshes. Alright, and so even after cleaning it in brake cleaner, this is the lower mesh, that's the coarser mesh. And as you can see, I still have a bunch of crap in it. And it just gets worse and worse as it got tighter. This over here is basically the center around that center pipe. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the history on the 4000, but this is out of the 861. And the guy that had this tractor had a chicken farm. So there is all kinds of chicken plume all through here. And that's probably what a lot of this is. Of course, I don't have chickens. I do pure vegetable farming, so mine'll just be dirt. But I want all of this gone out of this mesh. And this mesh is actually 2 layers. So I'm gonna keep cleaning it. I'm blowing it out with air, trying to get as much of this out as I can. And hopefully here soon I'll have a completely clean mesh. Okay, so here's these mesh after cleaning them. I probably had a good hour in them. You can see there's still a little bit of plume flying out, but they are clean. Now I just gotta roll them back up. I'll probably go shake them out one last time, try to get as much plume out, because after I had them cleaned, I folded them like that and shot them with brake cleaner until the brake cleaner ran clean. So these are completely clean, like I said, other than some plume feathers that come out. And now I gotta wrap them back up and put the staples back into it. So let me go shake these out one last time. Alright, so now to roll this back up, the first thing I did was I went ahead and put both screens together, and I left about 10 inches off, because that's how it was when it came off. You can kind of see the split right there. And I'm going to use this portion of the 4000 air cleaner, because that's the same diameter as the piece inside. And I'm just going to start to just wrap this around there. And I need to try to keep it as straight as I can. Okay, now I'm going to take my staples and I'm just going to kind of put them in here and try to get them to grab as much as I can and get them to stay into place. And then I'm just going to slide it up off the top. And there is it wrapped back up. Completely cleaned. and ready to go back into the filter. And here's the upper. Now the upper I did not take apart just because it was pretty clean. I might have that lower one just a hair on the tight side. But we'll see. Whenever I put it in, it might be alright. I may have to kind of loosen it up a little bit. And I went ahead and cleaned this upper screen as well. Cleaned the plate off. And then this lower screen also cleaned. And the upper cup, I guess you could call this one, is clean now as well. Alright, so now that I got everything on the air cleaner cleaned up, the actual body itself is blasted and painted. It's time to start putting it back together. So, the first piece is going to go in is this little mesh piece, kind of a screen. It goes at the very top. Next, we're going to put the finer mesh in. And these can be kind of a pain to get started, but they will go. It's just getting it over that center tube. Once you get it over that center tube, just push it all the way down. And I've got this thing oiled up with some WD-40 right now, and that's just because this is bare steel from where I've cleaned everything. I'm not going to put any oil in it until I get it actually bolted onto the tractor. So now we're going to put in our coarser mesh, the same procedure. Okay, so there's both meshes in. The next piece is going to be the piece that we had to cut off. And that just goes back in flush. And then if you want to, you can go ahead and just kind of tap to kind of crimp it back into place. Which I'm not going to weld it because, you know, when I go to service it in the future, I'd have to cut my welds. So there's our mesh back into our filter. My workbench is covered in dirt and WD-40 right now. On the oil cup, we got this little insert. That's just going to slide down. And then there is another mesh screen that just sets down in there. We got our band. Go ahead and just slide that over the cup. And we'll take the air cleaner, slide it down in. And once it's fully seated, I'll just go ahead and tighten this back up for now. Like I say, I have no oil in this. I'll do that whenever I get it back on the tractor. And as far as the type of oil, I'm just going to run the same 15W40 that I have in the engine itself. So now the last piece to put onto my air cleaner is going to be my pre-cleaner assembly. This is the original base that's actually off of my 861. This is a new lid and a new clear bowl. And that just slides onto the top. Like so. So now, there is the completed air cleaner assembly, ready to go onto the tractor. Alright, so now we're going to start working on putting the intake back on. And first thing I want to do is I'm going to take this lower coupler. This is a 311-107. Go ahead and just slide that on there. Then I'm going to take the clamps, which is a B4A-8287. I might have to go ahead and widen these out some a second. Go ahead and put 2 of these on this hose. Next, go ahead and put the intake pipe on. I'm going to hook it up here onto my studs. And then I got the 2 lower starter bolts. Work graffiti. And you may have to tweak on this stuff a little bit to get it to line up right. Whack yourself in the face in the process. do is I'm going to go ahead and tighten these lower ones down. And these need torque to about 15 foot-pounds. So now that I got these torqued down, I'm going to go ahead and put my nut and washer up top. And these I'm just going to snug down because I don't want to really deform the hood or anything or potentially break anything. So now there's the pipe on. Now we're going to slide our boot back and get it hooked all up. So now all I got to do is put the oil bath up here. However, I got to go find some nuts to put that on. So I'm just going to cover that back up for a second. Alright, so I got my hardware now to put the air cleaner on. It's going to take the same hose and the same clamps. Go ahead and slide that on there. Make sure I get the right clamps. What I'm doing is I'm actually putting the hose onto the air cleaner just because it might be a little easier to put on there without scratching it all up this way. Okay. And then we're going to slide that over. It's definitely easier to put the hose on it. And then just slide that down. And I'm just making sure I got a gap back here to my hood, which I do. I'll slide the clamps on. Then we got a lock washer. And nuts. And pretty much this cleaner, the weld that this bracket is on, that clamp's pretty much resting on it. Like I said, I got about a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch off of the hood back here. And just tighten this down. Those look pretty equal. Okay, so that should be on there good and solid. Now you just got to tighten up the clamps. Okay, and there's the air cleaner installed. Now, I still got to fill it with oil. And, you know, the manual will tell you different things and this and that. For me, my general rule of thumb is I want the same oil in here that I have in my engine. So, I got 1540 in the engine. That's what I'm going to put in here. Which I got to go find some somewhere. I know I got some around here. But it's pretty self-explanatory. Just fill it up to the oil line, put it back, and it's finished.